I'm Carlos.
I'm Charles.
And we're going for a drive. '21 Ferrari Roma
With power start. Oh my God.
horsepower and torque.
612 horsepower, 561 pound-feet of torque from a twin-turbo 3.9-liter V8. God, that's fast.
But it doesn't sound as good as that last F12 that we drove that we got from OB.
Yeah, so OB Prestige gave us a used Ferrari F12 to review, and that was incredible. V12 screamed like a monster. This twin-turbo V8, totally different.
And this is our first Ferrari press car, and we still have not driven a red Ferrari with the engine in the back with a tan interior.
Yes, we've only driven front mid-engine Ferraris.
We will get there one day.
Yes.
And in the Ferrari lineup, this is one of the new affordable GT cars.
Yeah, that's right. So you're supposed to cruise long distances in this. This isn't like a sports car meant for the track.
Yeah, I think this is meant if you have a bunch of Ferraris and then you want a chill Ferrari.
Exactly.
Which is not what I'm interested in at the moment. I want a red, loud, obnoxious Ferrari.
Yeah, me too.
And there are a bunch of other front engine Ferraris and a bunch of other mid-rear engine Ferraris, but let's start this off with the looks.
Okay, so at first, seeing this in photos, I really did not like it. It looked like an Aston Martin to me, but seeing this in person, it actually looks a lot better. I still don't love it, but it definitely looks better in person.
Yeah, I like it so much more in person. Starting with the front end, we've got a very interesting grille that's color matched. I think it looks much better in red than this bluish gray.
I think any Ferrari always looks better in red.
But the front end from the side gives me vibes of that shark with like all the gums.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, it still does look really cool in real life. And if we pop the hood, what do we have under there?
We've got that twin-turbo V8. You can see that it's set further back, making it front mid-engine.
And then from the side view, it's very rounded. I love the body lines, the way the sun reflects off it. It's unlike pretty much any other car on the road, and it looks very 60s to me.
Yes, so this overall design aesthetic is Ferrari of the 50s and 60s, which I don't really have experience with. I haven't really looked into because those were out much earlier than I was ever born, but I could see the vibe that they're going for seeing the pictures of those old Ferraris.
Especially with the daytime running lights, which is a nice clean little line, and like it's really like recessed low. It kind of looks like an old Ferrari Daytona kind of ish with the flip up headlights.
But since we are talking about the side, my favorite part of the side are these wheels. These are the ultimate regular Ferrari 5-spoke spec. Like I love how fat the spokes are. Everything about them is perfect.
The only Ferrari wheel I like more is the 348 wheel, which is also a 5-spoke but like a different style.
Right, yeah.
And then what would be the Continental recommended tire for a Ferrari Roma?
The Extreme Contact Sport.
And the door handles, do you mind them? It's like a weird double piece thing that's built into the door.
Yeah, they're kind of weird. I don't really like them. I don't not like them, but at least they're flush with the door.
And then moving on to the back end, the shoulders, hips, it's really, really good.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite angle. The rear 3/4, I would say, is my favorite angle of this car.
Taillights are really wicked. They're different, but they're very good.
Again, in photos, and maybe in this video doesn't translate, but in person, they do look pretty cool. They're like these like slits, and Ferrari says they're meant to look like jewels, which are like placed directly into the body. They look cool in person.
And then at the back, it's not a hatchback, it's a trunk. We don't have too much room, but enough for 2 carry-ons. And then we also have a little spoiler that pops up back there that says Ferrari on it. And then the exhaust tips, I think, look super awesome. We got double duals there with cool little ridges on the inside.
Yeah, and I like that they're offset from each other. The exhaust tips look really, really cool. The diffuser looks pretty cool. Overall, that back end, I think, is the best part of this car.
And then we can rev it all the way to red line when you're parked, which is awesome. So you should probably
listen to it from the outside. Sounds interesting from the outside. It is a flat plane crank. The turbos kind of muffle it. This does have the gas particulate filter, which also muffles it even more, but I think they did a pretty good job considering it has that.
And I'm cruising in race mode in auto. I'm gonna floor and we'll hear it from the inside.
Okay. Oh, only went to 4th.
Okay.
Fairly quiet.
Let me downshift it to the gear I want to be in.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds a little better inside, but it's not the best either.
It is not my favorite sounding front engine Ferrari that I have driven.
No, that F12 that we drove was absolutely mental. I still think about that car today.
It was spectacular. Now I'm gonna flip the little switch into sport mode and give it a little send through cliche corner, put my manual gated shifter into manual.
Okay, and...
Oh, I gotta shift more. Very snappy, still very sporty considering this is a GT car. But maybe we should get you behind the wheel and find out if this is a supercar.
Ooh, I'd love to do that, Yuri. But first, I just want to say that we actually do have a passenger screen on here, which I have been enjoying watching. It's really cool to see my revs, actually your revs, your speed. You can also change seat settings in here. This is an option, obviously, but it is really cool to have this on the passenger side because I feel like I'm part of the experience. Let's get me into the driver's seat.
Supercar checklist. Is it fast? Is it loud?
Power start. Yes, it's fast. Not that loud.
At least not a good sounding loud.
Yeah, it's not the loud. Let's just give that a pass and a fail.
And to finish off the looks, does it get a lot of attention?
Actually, no, especially not in this color, but Ferrari didn't design it to get a lot of attention, but that's still a supercar fail.
Does it have a gimmicky steering wheel?
Hell yeah, it does. This is one of my favorite wheels. It's so thin, so light, and we also have LEDs for shift lights.
Yeah, the part I hate about this wheel though is that there's so many capacitive touch buttons, but we'll get that later. And it does have a lot of carbon fiber, so another pass there.
Yes, supercar pass.
Do the visors pass the visor test?
Supercar visor test.
3, 2, 1.
Fail, which is a supercar pass.
And does it have a cup holder? Yes, but when you put a cup that doesn't have much stuff in there, these side clamps pretty much crush it and make it very difficult to use. So supercar pass.
And does it fit a box? No, it doesn't.
It'll just fit carry-on, so that's also supercar pass.
Do the doors go up?
No.
No, they don't. So supercar fail.
Yeah.
Do you look cool getting in or out? I mean...
Average?
Average?
Yeah, so overall I think not a supercar, but a super GT car.
I think it passes enough items on the supercar checklist to say that it's a supercar, but it's like, it's borderline.
Nah, because the i8 passed a lot too, just different ones, but it wasn't fast and it didn't sound that good.
Supercar fail?
I think supercar fail.
I think it's a borderline pass though. I think it's like one over.
Let us know in the comments below.
Is this a supercar? Because this is actually the only debate we've ever had over a supercar, so that's pretty tight. So now let's get to the fun powertrain stuff. Downshift and send. So fast. Okay, so Ferrari's mantra about Ferraris with turbos is zero lag. 100% believe that. So I do get some lag when you put it into like comfort mode, but that makes total sense. But I'm chilling in race mode, zero lag. Like it's
It feels naturally aspirated.
They did a fantastic job with that.
Have you enjoyed shifting with the column-mounted paddles?
I really have. They are carbon fiber. This is an 8-speed dual clutch. It shifts really quickly. The gauge actually even keeps up, which is really impressive because the gauge is actually fairly fluid in some circumstances, in others it's not. But let's send this into cliche corner and see what it's like. And the first thing you notice is how just how nimble it is. It turns in right away. And let's see if we can get some slip angle on this exit. Yes, we can. Okay, so that was in race mode. And race mode has Ferrari Dynamic Enhancer, which is kind of like a drift mode, but not really. It basically allows the car to kind of control each individual wheel with the brakes, which is only in race mode. So in all the other modes, you don't get that dynamic enhancer. So you do have side slip control, which again, also uses the traction control and everything. So this car has a lot of computers kind of helping you along.
And then the modes we do have are steering wheel mounted. We have comfort, sport, race, and then ESC off and wet.
Yes, that's right. And it is one of the only actual mechanical switches, in this entire car.
And then when you go onto a bumpy road, you can push it in for bumpy road suspension, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and this has the optional Magna Ride, and it is fantastic. Like, this is what you want in a GT car. But the experience behind the wheel is still Ferrari to me. Like, this drives so well, even though it's a GT car. It's so nimble, and that's what I didn't expect from this.
I'm just disappointed with the sound.
Yeah,
from inside, and that
I hear you. Literally.
makes it non-Ferrari to me.
Yeah, they did do a lot to like kind of go around that gas particulate filter and stuff like that. But like,
it's a civilized Ferrari for people who don't need loud and exciting stuff. but we're car reviewers and we haven't reviewed a red mid-engine loud Ferrari yet, so it's kind of a weird thing to throw at us, I think.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about the steering wheel now, Yuri. We have a lot of capacitive buttons. You do accidentally hit them with your thumbs and stuff, so let's get into this.
I haven't hit anything with my thumbs so far, but we've got our engine start-stop in the middle at the bottom, which is kind of weird. I'm kind of wanting that red Ferrari button to press start.
Yeah, I want to flip the toggle switch up and click a button.
I think that's Lamborghini.
Yeah, I still want that though.
A lot of the buttons change as you go through different settings, and then we do have our turn signals on the steering wheel like all Ferraris.
And then our wipers and our high beams are all controlled on the steering wheel. We also have buttons in the back, several different buttons in the back of the steering wheel.
Yeah, and it's not confusing. You got your radio buttons back there, you got your wiper, your high beams. It's like pretty cool. And then at the front, you've got a little touchpad that controls your infotainment screen, which is also your gauge cluster, because that's where your Apple CarPlay goes, not on your center screen.
Yeah, which is a little weird at first, but Ferrari's idea was putting everything that you're going to look at the most right in front of you, which does make sense for Apple CarPlay, so it's not in the center screen. But what does suck is when you're looking at Apple CarPlay, you don't have your TAC.
I don't like the way it's set up, and I would much prefer having Apple CarPlay here, because to get out of your Apple CarPlay, you need to use the touchpad to toggle to the home button, and then to the Ferrari button. There is no hard button hotkey to go back to your gauge cluster. But what's cool about the gauge cluster is you can customize the color of the center tack, and it is very smooth like you said earlier. But then you can also click the max view button on the steering wheel, and that'll either get you the full map blown up or a tack that goes all along the top from left to right. But I think the yellow tack in the middle is perfect.
Yeah, and it actually even looks like a real tack, which is really impressive for a digital display.
But I would much prefer analog, as most of you guys know from every single one of our videos. And then you can also go through different options by swiping left and right on the touchpad. Hit me with that sound.
Yeah, here we go. And that's where the lag comes in. So switching between screens on your main screen with this button is quite laggy.
Yeah, but then you have some more settings there, and you can see like your temperature settings and everything. You can see when you're in warm-up mode, you got to get the tires moving a little bit more before you do anything silly in it. So it is cool. There is a lot of good information. And unlike some other manufacturers, you can actually move the vents with your hands. How perfect is that?
Wow, Porsche, we're looking at you.
And Tesla.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm comparing exotics here, Yuri.
Plaid is exotic.
No, it's not. It's from America.
It's from space. And then moving on to our middle infotainment, it's much smaller in real life than it was in pictures to me.
Yeah, but it does kind of stick out as well. You can kind of hang on to it, but you probably shouldn't.
It's got your temperature stuff, your seat stuff. It's not the hardest to use, but it's also not my favorite because I do like hard buttons.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit laggy to actually control stuff through here, so it's not the best, I would say.
I would prefer the Lamborghini infotainment with Apple CarPlay. You know how it's vertical?
Yep.
In here, I think. And then moving below the infotainment, we have our shifting gear stuff, and it looks like a gated shifter, but it's just little buttons that we click up, down, back, forth. So that's pretty cool.
It's a cool heritage thing, but the cooler heritage thing would have actually been giving us a manual, but nobody's going to do that these days.
That part of the world is gone.
Yeah, unless you buy a Porsche.
Well, it depends on which Porsche, because some GT3s have a fake shifter.
Oh,
It's just an actual auto shifter. PDK, whatever. And to finish off the interior, we've got a nice blue suede, I think.
Yeah, it looks really nice, and it looks like we have two cockpits. It's like evenly laid out. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Unlike the C8 Corvette, where it's like driver focused. Like this is both focused.
Yeah, and with the little beige piping around in the same color seats, I think it's good. I like the stitching on the seat.
Seats are kind of firm.
Yeah.
Like quite firm.
I don't think Ferrari is going to do a soft seat.
I know, but it's a GT car. I would have liked a little bit
I'm
softer.
sure this is softer than some of their other cars. No, we don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure. And then the back seats.
They exist.
They say in the press footage that it's for small children or for extra luggage. You think that's very fair.
And normally cars like this are classified as 2+2 because 4 people, but this is a 2+, so not for 4 adults.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then to end off the interior, my favorite part, we have a 360 camera, which shows up in the gauge cluster, which works really well. But the fun part is we actually have the 360 look around view, which looked pretty interesting next to my Fiat.
Yes, it's a little bit laggy again, but it looks pretty cool.
And it's very clear, and having a full 360 camera in cars like this is good because like you really don't want to bump into curbs and things like that.
Yeah, and a couple performance things to end this off. This is 50-50 weight distribution. Yes, it does have a transaxle because the transmission's in the back. It is 100% rear-wheel drive, and this thing is just, it's a joy to drive. I'm surprised by how fun it is. Yes, it's a Ferrari, but it's a GT car. So we've driven other GT cars. I think this is one of the better ones to actually drive.
This would be so fun to drive on the Autobahn or something like that in Europe, where there's like no speed limits.
Yeah, with the matching Ferrari luggage, which will cost you literally an arm and a leg.
I don't think that kind of cost matters to Ferrari people.
It really doesn't. The amount of options on this, Apple CarPlay is like a $4,500 option, which this has.
I genuinely think you need to add more options to flex on how much your Ferrari costs. Like if they sold an inexpensive Ferrari, it wouldn't be as cool. So with everything pretty much out of the way of this Ferrari, I think it's time we get to the price. Jacob, how much does it cost?
More than you can afford, pal. Ferrari. I had to do it.
And if you're shopping for a new car and you live in the United States, click the TrueCar link below. There's a discount when using the StraightPipes link.
You can also shop for used cars using TrueCar. And if you live in Canada, we have a Car Help Canada link below. So let us know what you guys think of this Ferrari that can do 0 to 60 in around 3 seconds.
Would you take this over any of its competition? Which Ferrari do you want to see us review next? Let us know in the comments below. And what color interior. Please be red.
It's gotta be red on 10.
I just want a red with the engine in the back.
Yes.
Or the mid-back, whatever.